Business leaders and intellectual business community, we continue our discussions today with title Indonesia's Advantages for Multinationals. And we have two persons here from Japanese company and from your company is from
Denmark.
Danish company, to share with us from their point of view what is the advantages of Indonesia that made them decided to do business here, and what could be the things that we can improve to make more companies, more multinational companies, to open up business here in Indonesia. We have questions from the audience. Please, Pak Bunadi.
Yes, thank you. My name is Bunadi from Mora. As we understand, the advantages for the multinational to come to Indonesia, of course, if there's a stable democracy, then can create also less risk, and also the potential market for 130 million people what we have here. The other side, we know that there are also disadvantages like lack of infrastructure that the government need to also think about that. And the other point is about the labor law. If I'm not mistaken, labor law number 13, year 2003, with regard to the severance payment schemes. My question is to both of you, do you think this scheme really a burden for multinational companies? Thank you.
All right, good questions. So, Mr. Yamazaki, you were about to explain the history of your business, but I think you can also include these questions into your history, how this development in infrastructure in Indonesia and also the development of the regulation in Indonesia might change your, your decisions to expand the business or to hold the business, or to gradually decrease your business in Indonesia. How is it the dynamics of these things?
I'm not a legal expert, okay? So let me allow to talk about that legal situation a bit, in vague. But yes, in addition to that, the strong advantage, as a supplier of natural resources here in Indonesia, as I told you, okay. These days we can enjoy, good, say, competitive labors to start up our manufacturing industry here, as well as to 30 to 40 million population, big market, domestic market, which is accounting for nearly 70% of GDP here in Indonesia.
But you sell something here, or you just exporting something from Indonesia to Japan?
Yeah, as I explained, we started from that export oriented business of natural resources more than 50 years ago.
Right.
Then that our business, structure or trend is changing, quite say, to satisfy our company's values or targets, right? Then, from that export type of business, I think several trading companies also starting up their own manufacturing or investments,
right?
To work with the Japanese partners or American partners. Then nowadays also targeting at quite a huge domestic market.
All right.
In Indonesia.
Okay.
So these considering that the history of our companies or Japan trading companies operations in Indonesia, there are many several advantages or disadvantages, as you say.
So the evolution is that from exporting natural resources from Indonesia, now you see the advantages of
in addition to that export type of business.
Power.
Yes, we are kind of imports, or type of business, quite strong trend in Indonesia now.
Yeah.
Then using those advantages, strengths of Indonesia. Yes, we are trying to expand our own operation business activities.
Okay.
But nevertheless, as we pointed out, there are still several disadvantages for foreign investors to expand our business here. And one of those disadvantages is that labor.
The labor regulation?
Yes. As far as I remember that even that the new, strong president, delayed that, division of labor law, I think 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So still we are waiting for that.
But if you say something is disadvantage, then it could be because you see it in comparison with other countries.
Right.
So you see that this kind of law is not, it's not practiced by other countries, including in Japan.
Yeah, I cannot clearly compare that situation, labor situation or labor law situation, Indonesia versus Vietnam, China, India. I cannot do that. I'm not a legal, expert.
Yes,
but whenever we try to expand our business, particularly that the manufacturing type of business, we can, hire lots of competitive labor here in Indonesia to try to contribute, to the economy of Indonesia, right? We are facing up several, labor relating issues, problems, which should be, clearly or fairly governed by that newly much awaited labor law.
Okay. What is the attractive factor for you was the natural resources, and we know that maybe 50 years ago, also the regulations for the natural resources is so loose that maybe Indonesia can export log woods and everything, but now it's very regulated that only certain kind of processed woods can be exported, and those any other also regulations. How do you see your business of exporting natural resources in Indonesia developing? Is it developing or is it decreasing?
I think still expanding. That very good export businesses, or say coal, gas, palm oil,
All right. Okay.
various kinds of natural resources. Yes, still expanding of that export type business.
If you can see how big is your business now compared to the 50 years ago when Sojitz started the business in Indonesia? I mean, how many times bigger now?
Size-wise, business volume.
Business volume was.
I have no clear.
More than 10
figures.
More than 10 times.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Yes.
Okay. So, Jason, maybe you are in the relocation business. You are most knowledgeable about the infrastructure in Indonesia. What do you think the infrastructure in Indonesia? For the foreign companies, of course. I mean, we used to live here. Maybe we don't see any difference because we use it every day. But then for foreign companies, they can compare from one country to another. So.
Well, there's two elements here. I mean, to answer the question, one is how it affects us directly, and one how it affects the economy, and certainly it's affecting both. I mean, for us. Yes, infrastructure is a serious issue for us in terms of lack of road systems, lack of highway systems, efficiencies of the ports here. As an example, the cost of sending a 20-foot container from Jakarta to Balikpapan is probably more expensive than sending it to somewhere like Hong Kong or somewhere overseas. So,
right.
It's a high cost of logistics of doing business within the country. The other side of that as well is that makes the inefficiencies and the cost makes products more expensive, so that affects the economy as a whole. People having to spend in remote locations, it's costing them more money to get basic foods and services because of the infrastructure problem.
Right.
So it affects the economy as a whole, and certainly it does affect us as well. But for our company, I mean, we're successful when Indonesia's economy is going strong, companies are moving in here, that helps us. So there are factors that are hindering growth of the economy, and infrastructure certainly it would be in the top 5 of issues that's restricting the growth.
Right. So you may have your own ideas about what to develop, and also you listen to your customers, maybe put in quotes complaints about why it should be like this in Indonesia, and if your customers or you is given one opportunity to ask the most important for you, what is it?
I wish you could say there was only. I mean, there's several issues that I think multinationals would like to address. Labour law is certainly in the list in the top 10. I think different companies have different priorities. Transparency of the laws. Companies, just from even recent examples, may not feel comfortable. How is their legal status in the country in terms of their presence here? And what safeguards, what is going to protect the assets or investment they've made in this country if the legal framework is not very clear to them.
All right.
So that, I think if you look at the big picture and talking about big companies, that issue is certainly of high concern, I think.
All right, all right. Okay, Jason and Mr. Yamazaki, again, we have to have a little break before we continue our discussions. So business leaders and intellectual business community is very interesting discussions, especially for you who has concerns about the foreign investment in Indonesia. We listen to what people say about our country, about the advantages and disadvantages that we have to work on. So for you who wants to comment, who wants to raise questions, please SMS to 0896 788. We have to break for the next segment.